Two artists, Vermeer's forger, great masters. When van Meegeren was a young child in Holland, he loved to draw. He enjoyed visiting museums and gazing at pictures by Dutch artists. The great painters Rembrandt and Vermeer had died more than 200 years earlier, but the painting lived in Hans' mind. Hans longed to spend his life as an artist. If only he could paint like those great Dutch masters, if only he could spend his life mixing colors and creating beautiful pictures. If only. Van Meegeren first painting. In 1908, when he was 19, he began studying architecture. He designed a few buildings, but he still loved art, painting, and the great Dutch masters. So he quit architecture and began to study art. At first he did very well. He graduated from art school and was hired to teach other students. He even won some awards for his painting skill. As time went by, Han did not work as hard, and many critics did not like his work. They say his work followed the old master too closely. They said he had no talent. The reviews that the critics wrote about him made him sad and very angry. Han could not stop thinking about the critics. He wrote angry letters, but that was not enough. He had to be some way to get back at them. He wanted to fool and embarrass at them, to embarrass them the way they had embarrassed him. An idea formed in Hans' mind. What if he were to paint a picture and say the great artist Johannes Vermeer had painted it? Could it be full to the critics only, thinking his forgery was a genuine, genuine Vermeer painting? Would they praise it, as they did Vermeer's other work, and imagined what the critics would say when they found out he had painted it? Copying a master. Han knew a great deal about art and life during the years that Vermeer was painting. He was a smart man, and he knew that a convincing art forgery required many things. Subjects of painting had to look as if they were from time period when Vermeer lived. The paint and canvas also had to appear old. But most of all, his painting technique had to reflect Vermeer's style. To start, Han needed to find and use a 17th-century painting that was more than 200 years ago. Once he had found it, he cleaned the canvas, making sure to leave behind the aging cracks in the lower white paint layer. Old painting have tiny cracks line. Han worked on his painting for a long, long time. He chose subjects based on what the art critics might expect Vermeer to paint. Vermeer painted pictures of life during the late 1600s. If Han were going to paint Vermeer forgeries, he would have to learn a lot about life during that time. For instance, he would have to know how people dressed and wore their hair. Han also chose his paints and brushes very carefully, using only brushes and colors identical to those used by Vermeer. Sometimes he ground and created his own paint when he needed blues that were only made a certain way 200 years before. Also, seeing paints take many, many years to harden. He probably added a chemical to his paints to make them dry quickly. He also added a varnish that made the entire painting appear a bit old and dusty. When it was finished, Han van Miguelgran called his painting the disciples of Emer's master of success. Hans' first forgery was a success. Everyone believed that his painting was actually painted by Vermeer. He was able to sell it for a great deal of money. Best of all, the critics praised it. Ham planned to tell the critic he had painted the picture, but decided against it, much more than he expected. So he decided to paint more forgeries and get very, very rich. He studied Vermeer's real painting and carefully as he painted more forgeries. Every detail would have to correct so the critics would not realize the painting were fakes. Hand painting I sold several Vermeer paintings and it did become quite rich. Forgery uncovered. Like many criminals had become lazy. One of his forgeries was sold to a high-ranking Nazi official during World War II. The Dutch and Nazis were enemies, so after the war Han was nearly jailed for life for selling a Dutch national treasure to the enemy. He confused the painting with a forgery. He painted a new Vermeer to prove he had done, but instead punished with just 2 years in jail. However, before Han could go to jail, he died. Vermeer's style and techniques took Hans many years to master. Vermeer was a genius at using light, using light. In his painting, light often comes through the window and shines on tiny details. He was also a genius at showing the mood of his subject and creating the feeling of the painting. Hans' mastery of Vermeer techniques cast a shadow over Vermeer's real works. Which ones were real? Which one might be fake?